Really? It's a pancake now.
Pancake.
It's a pancake. Come on, man. You're not messing with it. Nice.
I asked him to bump the knuckles.
I know when he's just being on it. He's tired. Been up since 6:30, man.
Where's my agenda?
This one we want?
Yes.
They do need to stick it way down in that pocket.
Oh.
You know what? You did it. You see, you're pretty strong. Then I'll yeah, well, it's not. Okay, I was just curious what it was.
Oh, that's just, my paper's all mixed up all over there.
You said you went to the park today and bring the classmate?
You ready? Okay, it's 7. We'll get started. We'll start off with the pledge. Matt's gonna lead us.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now I'm gonna ask Mark to do the roll call and make sure we got a quorum. Matt Davison?
Here.
Tom Carter? Here. Daniel Everly? Here. Mark Seaston? Present. Okay. Need to review the minutes. Or have a motion to accept them. So okay, moved in second. All in favor, say aye. Okay. I'm gonna turn it over to Matt with the old business.
Okay, hey, thanks for coming. Continue your continued interest. Try and get you out of here before storms. I think are coming later on tonight, so I hope we're not here that long. Under old business, we had a territory meeting on March 19th, so we discussed some of these things. So some of the things I'm bringing to you is because we had those meetings. The Township Mergers, the Senate Bill 270 update, they were pretty fluid and dynamic, but on the 11th hour of the 11th day, it did go through. So I think we discussed during many meetings about what that would look like for Jackson Township. We've discussed between the fire chief and myself, like we want to understand like that may change around a little bit, but however they can, I feel that they would best benefit to merge townships, so we'll see how that goes. Consolidation of townships around here, that's gonna be based on those scores. Talked to some of the other township trustees, and they're nervous, so specifically Green. Moving along, the AFR was accepted by the State Board of Accounts, even with the discrepancy that we discussed. Alan, this is specific to you. The interest on the CD, I did find out that it is supposed to go into a different account. Instead of, before it was a $50,000 CD and that interest was just accruing. So we are gonna start taking that out. We'll have to have a motion to do that. And that'll be up in the next meeting or so. I figure out if we need to do it annually or monthly, but specifically to you. The bond for the trustee and the clerk has been increased. So the times that we do get the needle over $1 million, we are now covered for that amount of money. And that's pretty much it for the old business. For new business, I'm currently working on cemetery bids and contracts that are in the capital improvement plan for 2026. That includes a new mowing contract because the previous person did not return my phone calls, so we're getting new mowing bids. Fence repair around Nash Chapel, and then fence actually replaced around Gerholt Cemetery.
Did you find out if they are required around it, or maybe it could just be taken down? Or?
To tell you the honest God truth, I never got to the end. I'm writing it down though. Okay.
I didn't see anything. I was looking. So if it, whatever's easiest.
Yeah, I think it's just aesthetically pleasing, I think, to some people, but there's a few things we can do to make it look better.
Well, like Tom said, people like to tear it down and tack it. I don't know why.
Right.
Whatever insanity that is.
Right. In new business, just for point of order and you guys to know, the contract between the Morgantown Fire and the territory was approved March 19th, right? On the territory board? Chief, yeah. So that's done. Budget for 2026 and 2027, I don't have a lot of numbers for that because 2026's budget for the fire department runs from July to July. It has been trimmed, would you call it a good word, Chief? Some?
Well, the 2026 budget was submitted, and then due to the assessed values, it did not bring in what was requested.
Yeah.
Which is why we did the contract renewal on March 19th.
Yeah. With that, to the audience, and some of you were there when that happened, that meeting, they have found ways to, I want to be very gentle how I say this. They have been creative with ways to work with the money that they're going to get without basically burdening the township to make up the rest for their contract. And I don't know if I'm talking out of school when I say this, but so much to include that they used to get stipend for like a side pay for doing their jobs as chief, and they've foregone that to trim it up. So I think that that's noble and I appreciate it. 2027 is gonna be, as we're watching lit start to fall off, that money's coming off. So the amount of money that you can put in your contract, you're never gonna pull that amount of money, and it's gonna keep going away. Like, I think I remember it was 4%, 4%, 8%, 8%, and it was just gonna keep falling off. And it could be as much as 32% less. So some smaller departments like Green that operate on a smaller budget, that I talked to him and he said, I'm not sharing his information like out of school, he knows that I know it. They're broke in 30/30, shut down. So the reason we keep working the numbers for 26 and 27 is because I want to make sure we're having enough to come in and to at least cover the bare minimum. So we'll have the discussions about that. Here's a big one. One of the main reasons that I had the board come in today is because the brush truck proposal that we had previous, they wanted to table it until we figured out what was gonna happen with 270. We came back during the territory board meeting and asked if they could reevaluate getting it done. In your packet, there's a kind of a rendering of what it was, and I showed you the contract that they had. Luke, was that like 167 for the one that, in here? They want to build a truck similar to this, but they want to do some of the work themselves, so they're targeting more of like a 144 area. Hopefully they can do it for less than that by doing some of the work themselves. The biggest expense obviously is the truck, and then the flatbed, and then lighting is what costs a lot of this, and tires, the big tires to get them out in the fields and into the woods. The reason I had to have the board come forward is because during the capital improvement plan that was already approved, that's supposed to be in 2027. So I'm thinking of this as not an additional appropriation, but an early appropriation. And I was hoping to box in my decisions or ask for a motion to accept that we could build this truck 5 months early. And then that way the board understands, and then I just feel like it's probably the right thing to do rather than just spend it.
Of course, I have a question. On your proposal for the 450, they said that truck was a year out. If you got that 550, is that still a year out?
No, we can go buy one tomorrow.
Pardon?
We can go buy one tomorrow.
You're gonna buy one tomorrow?
Yeah, the proposal on that other truck is having a manufacturer build it.
I got you.
It's a year out because they have other trucks in front of that truck.
In the queue.
You know, in the queue, right? So it's the difference between us piecing it together and them waiting to have a spot in their production line and then actually producing the truck. That's why it's farther out.
So the 144, does that include all the emergency equipment other than the stuff you're putting on the back?
Everything we need. Yep.
Good.
One of the other reasons that I asked for it to be early in this year is if we get it by the end of this month, it's a $6,000 rebate on the truck. I had something else to say about that. I'll think of it in a second.
The other thing with that truck,
blanked
I'll
out.
add back, if you don't mind, is this, the one I found was a 2024, it's basically brand new, but if you can find one that's a few years older that I found, then it's obviously a lot cheaper than buying a 2026. So,
And it's gas,
yeah.
the big Godzilla motor that's lighter than the diesel, and
How many miles, Luke?
Like 15,
That's it. So it's a new truck.
it's just sat on a lot, so.
Is that, it's like a leftover model where they never sold it? Cool. That's just 15 miles.
Correct.
they agreed to do some of the building and like, putting on those tires. They'd come on rims or whatever, but you guys could put them on and, or you'd do it how you would do best, I guess. So with that being said, I don't know, is there any discussion to talk about anything that would concern you about releasing those funds early? That it's there, it's in the firefighter, or the fire equipment replacement fund. And I sent, I think you all, the totals that were in both of those funds. Any discussion?
No, I'm good with it. My reason for asking you what the total was, I want to make sure that, as of right now, my stance is that 500,000 was moved via resolution, and we're not going to go below that, so I'm good with it.
Okay. And like I said, the only reason I called the meeting is because it's early, and I felt like it was an early appropriation, and just wanted to make
And
sure.
we need to get it in before the end of the month.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Will they give you the same warranty as a new truck on the chassis, or have you got that far in discussions?
Yeah, I mean, it'll still be the same miles and years, yeah.
I wasn't able to make the territory meeting, but I did watch it, and I like the fact that it's going to be multi-purpose. That wasn't mentioned today, but
Right.
that adds a lot of value. And,
Yeah, it will at the end.
yeah.
actually, I can jump over it here real quick. To add on to the brush truck and maybe sweeten the deal. The chief and, well, the department themselves have come up with this crazy trade that was for an ice cream booth and an ice cream machine. They have worked with Farm Bureau, I guess, for a long time, and then in order for them to stay like at the fair and everything, Farm Bureau wants to have this ice cream booth and this ice cream machine, and they've offered them a $86,000 grain rescue trailer, which would be used if there people fall into grain bins and to be able to vac it out. And the reason why the brush truck was gonna be, to sweeten the deal, is it was gonna be heavy enough and big enough that they could take both units, and then they would be able to respond to regionally, really, they could be anywhere. So, back to the brush truck, if there is no other discussion, would you entertain a motion to go ahead and do it?
I move we do it. There's funding there, it's already been approved, so.
Just checking boxes.
Yeah, second.
Okay. Luke, go buy a truck.
You didn't vote yet.
Oh, we have to vote?
Yeah, we have to
okay. So, those in favor, right?
Go buy a truck now.
Yeah, so those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, seeing none, the motion passes. Luke, now.
You should make a note in there, everybody's in agreement on the brush truck.
I will. We're actually getting closer to the end, than it went quicker than I thought. Tanker, emergency light replacement. If the board will see that I didn't give you the full thing because it's large. That's the total down there. I saw the tanker going down the road yesterday, 2 days ago, 2 days ago. Sirens blaring, horns are going, and no lighting. So I guess it's been an ongoing and ever increasingly common problem that they have no lights on the truck because it's failing, it's older. We're not asking, they don't want to ask to replace those lights or the tanker, but they want to replace the lighting because they're really happy with the tanker actually, so. That was new and it wasn't budgeted, but it is in the equipment replacement. The money is there for that, so I was just gonna, again, box out my ends and just ask if I could have a motion for that. $20,279.30 for the total cost. The parts are becoming harder and harder to get, and with more common lighting, it's less amperage draw, a bunch of different benefits.
I move that we do it.
Okay. Need a second?
Can I just ask a question?
I
don't know the answer. How much in the budget did we set aside for stuff like this? I mean, it's equipment replacement, and that's what this is.
Oh, you mean on their budget?
Yeah,
Oh, so for just like, this would fall in truck maintenance, we had 20,000.
yeah, but I mean, this is equipment replacement. It falls in the equipment replacement, which is 113, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, all right. I'll second the motion.
I have to vote, right? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, seeing none. So that passes. I talked about the grain rescue trailer trade. Chief, are you able to speak to any of the other ongoing conversations you're having with other people as far as getting classes and equipment?
In regards to the grain bin?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've actually got 3 people in confined space class this week. That's been going well. I talked to Assistant Chief of Mooresville to be a little bit of a, help up in that northwest corner of the county. They're interested. A&A's always been interested. Paragon's interested in having people throughout the county trained.
Sure.
We would still house the equipment and respond to the location with the equipment, but them getting there first and getting started is crucial. So it'll be like a task force technical rescue, but it's positive stuff, so, and I know it's at the state level for Farm Bureau with the contractual agreement and stuff, and just finishing up a few little things there, and we should know more soon.
What's the delivery time on the trailer?
Depends on how quick Farm Bureau and them get the contract signed soon, and then, hopefully we will have it by, I'm gonna say July or August. I hope.
Okay. Just a mention of small equipment sales, the fire department came to the territory, asked to just do sort of the same thing that we're doing here, parliamentary chat about them selling some small equipment, because they would gain a little bit on it, but some of it's not worth anything anyway, so they're selling some small equipment to, I don't know what you can buy fish with it, I guess, probably.
Just liquidating it.
Yeah.
Our books and stuff, you know, that you see the list there, what stuff's halfway valued out, we've had some interest.
I didn't include it in that, in this,
Okay.
this packet, but if you're more than welcome to see if you'd like, it's old, antiquated things.
Do we need a motion so you can do it without?
I know the territory board made a motion to give us permission to sell it as the incorporation. If you want to do that as well, I
don't know that we need it.
I don't know that you need to.
Okay.
It's there.
Who owns it? It's yours, right?
Corporation was,
Yeah, the incorporation owns the equipment.
So I don't think we need a motion for that.
Transparent that we were going to get rid of. A lot of it's dated, and like I said, a lot of it's broken, not working no more. It's just really, really old equipment.
If you ever take it up on, up the scrap place.
Some of them may.
There. I just want to mention that for them. Last item, kind of a touchy subject. Morgan County EMS's contract and their future with Jackson Township. I just want to discuss a few things. Digging through contracts, they have not had a contract with us, nor have they been true to their word as far as like giving us I know it's only $1, but it's the principle of the thing, and to renew the contract, and that's not had a contract there since 2021. We are having issues with them staffing. Not so much that I want to kick them out, but I was gonna ask the board if I could move forward with making them renew the contract if they want to stay housed in that building. But in the contract, I put the caveat that it has to be staffed. Because that ambulance is the very first one that they take out of service, and they take it to Martinsville so they can run nursing home runs.
And it's quite a distance already from here. So.
Correct. When they took it out of their firehouse, it was kind of under duress. They just took it. So then they put it in there, and the service has fallen off and off and off and off. And them in the firehouse and us not being there is getting worse. Like they're taking our electrical equipments to plug in their trucks, and then we go out there to try and start the fire truck and it's dead. So I wanted the permission of the board to kind of make this a little tighter ship for us.
I don't mind the approach. This is me asking again.
Yes.
I thought, I was, I guess, under the impression that they were kind of doing us a favor by staffing that. I could be completely wrong, but I would hate to,
I don't want to go guns a-blazing.
go in there and then they're like, oh, bro, we'll pull out. We don't need to be there.
Right.
Because being there, I think, is better for us for ISO and everything if they stay, right?
So not care about EMS.
They don't care about
They are
EMS.
strictly fire related stuff, so EMS.
But I mean, we're paying for an ALS
I see
ambulance,
both.
we're not receiving that, and that does hurt sometimes.
Everyone is charged for Morgan County EMS, not everyone gets.
Was it 6% or something like that?
Well, I don't know, but it's all in that, on your property taxes, that Morgan County line item
Yeah.
is part of that EMS service.
Yeah.
So they're supposed to be providing us an ALS ambulance
24/7.
24/7.
Do you guys have, is there any way to tell when they aren't manning it?
Oh, yeah.
But yeah,
We know.
yeah.
It's a lot. It's like Would you say I'm close at like a third of the time? It's not
That's maybe
stagnant.
a little high, but it's still, I mean, it's
Too much.
It's too much.
More than what we'd like to see.
Right.
And again, like, I know you made a comment, but like, if it's staff, if they need it to pull to Martinsville, Green Township, that's their job.
Just be like
That's their
third
business. I just want it staffed more if it's possible.
Yeah, I just hate to lose it altogether, but you said you're not going in guns blazing.
No, I'll take a week or so to think about it and have my wife talk me off the cliff.
This might not even work, but could they be pressuring someone, it's like you said, we're paying taxes on it. Could they be pressured to move something over here, or you guys too tight for space for that?
We're a little tight here for space, and I don't mind it being at Painted Hills, but I'd rather have something there.
Right, but it needs to be
that much
yeah.
closer to town,
Right.
because it's an additional 2 or 3 minutes to get from down to, inside Martinsville out here.
Are they still giving you guys access?
Yeah, we were down there this morning. We had a great discussion with the crew while we went through our engine 162 down there this morning. That all was great.
So in the future, I'm just letting you know I'm gonna work on it. I want something a little more binding.
Yeah, I think I mentioned contract last year, and he just said he hadn't gotten around to it, so this is what it is.
Right.
So along with Dan's statement, if they, let's say they choose not, or you guys butt heads or whatever, they choose not to sign the contract and they back out, do you have a backup plan for somebody else to get in there? And if not, does that shut down completely that station? Because then you only have one person staffing that station other than?
No, I'm sorry, the ambulance that's in there, we have a truck down there, and we have some volunteers and stuff that'll get that truck. We don't have our staff is here in this location. That's our backfill when we have a call. That truck responds from there.
I think with what you're asking is if the ambulance pulls out of that station and leaves, there will be no ambulance there, you are correct.
what you'll get is.
You'll get one from.
Right, I understand that,
From
but more than anything, shut down the station completely if you're only fire response and not fire and EMT response from that location.
Right, so, I mean, we don't have an ambulance, so.
I mean, we don't have an ambulance, so it would not have an ambulance, which would have a bay to put one of these trucks down there.
What would happen is we would just get to the scenes and be there
Wait,
a lot longer.
wait,
Wait,
even
It's coming from Martinsville.
Yeah, we'd be waiting, we already are most of the time.
That happens now.
That happens now, but that's why we want to tighten that up.
Right.
How many stations do they have?
Oh, I don't know.
They're getting ready to put a new one in service in Brooklyn. Area, they've got,
Build one in Paragon, build one in Brooklyn.
So you're talking about?
They built one in Monrovia.
Is that Morgan County?
Morgan County,
Yes. And they have the station in Martinsville, and then they house an ambulance in Station 2.
Does it seem like they're pulling?
Yeah.
Does it seem like they're pulling from Painted Hills?
First.
they always shut ours down first every time.
If they're struggling with staffing, they close it first.
That's the one that goes down first.
And
Most of the time.
their argument is, and to an extent, I understand it, is that we're not that far away from the city. Well, if it's not your emergency, yeah, it's not that far, but,
Right.
so.
Chad?
So I met with the director of Morgan County EMS because he's running for sheriff again.
Brent?
He has made it clear that their budget is shrinking, but they want to build a new headquarters for Morgan County EMS in Paragon. They want to build a big superstation there. They have full intention of closing Painted Hills.
Really?
That's what he said. And this was 2 months ago?
They just built a new station in Paragon
Yeah, I think they're trying to expand it.
already.
Why would you do that?
But because the one in Martinsville is outdated.
Well,
So we need to go to a county council meeting.
I think that if you want, if we want ambulance service to be properly covering us, we need to push on the county to say, look, they're operating like a business, which they should to a point, But you still need to cover what you're supposed to be covering. You still need to cover our citizens.
Yeah, for all being taxed for it.
Yeah,
We
that
should
doesn't
all
feel
have
fair to
access.
us.
Exactly, exactly.
So if we need to be louder as a community, I mean, I might know a person that could be a little louder.
Yeah, they just don't want to do it because we're at the edge of the county.
Mark, is that, on those calls, is there something public accessible to see exactly when, you know, basically find out when that is vacant? Do you know of anything that would?
The only thing that would be through a FOIA request, unfortunately.
Well, so the calls would say what station it came from, right?
Well, based
Like
on
who-
the
Oh, yeah, like
based
we
on the
had-
medic number, you know what station it came from.
Yeah, we had a call today and it pulled our vehicle and then it pulls Medic 916, which is the Painted Hillsman.
Yeah.
And then if they're out of service, because they're on call and get another call, we might get 961, 962, 915.
So looking at the number, we'd be able to.
You would know where the ambulance came from.
And also, if it's out of service because no one's here staffing it, it would show 916 is out of service for a period of time.
Yes.
Days sometimes.
Because as soon as that next crew comes in, they would log in 916 is in service.
He told you that face to face, he didn't put it on paper?
Of course not.
Okay.
We've had that conversation.
He is a very, very slick politician in Douglas County. The guy that's running for sheriff, I can't remember his name.
Brentworth.
Apparently he used to work for the sheriff's office, they ran him out, so he works for Morgantown.
He retired from the sheriff's office.
They ran him out, so he retired.
So what, would you just give those proposals to the lawyer and say, can you give us a rough draft, or would you draw one up and then?
I would have to think like the best way to do I go to the commissioners?
Yes.
Yes. Do I go to the commissioners and tell them like, this is what's happening, we can't keep doing it, then, lean on them to make the change. And then when they come and say we have to do a new contract, then I would say, or we as a body could say, this is what we want.
We want an ambulance in our area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do too.
So if you can keep one in that building, that would be nice.
I've responded over here and beat the ambulance from Columbus in the helicopter. So
You go a little faster than they do.
we were already up too.
I know we can't help if someone calls and sick and then they're short staffed today, but to be out of service as much as they have been has been a little much.
Do you have something else?
Well, I was gonna say that if they're not there, you know, we ought to have something, even if the commissioner doesn't respond, there ought to be some redress because they're getting tax money they're supposed to cover. And this, I mean, if you look on a map, if they're gone, that's a big corner that you gotta fill. And then these guys are the only ones.
They're just claiming they're covering us from Martinsville with a lot of response.
Who covers Green Township?
They have their own ambulance.
915.
They have their own medic ambulance in their
They do?
fire station.
But it's a county investment.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a county
Sullivan
ambulance
County.
unit.
It's just staffed more often. It's actually a lot of the people, the firefighters that work there staff it a lot. This is their second job.
Because we only have, out of the one station, we only have an EMT and not paramedics out of that one, right? Or is it
No,
vice versa?
no.
No, we have one EMT, one paramedic.
Okay,
Out of
all
our station.
right.
But I'd be fine with 2 EMTs as long as it's staffed.
Right, right.
If we had to do that.
Getting hands-on bodies is what it's all about. Stop bleeding, put on a tourniquet, fill a hole, start CPR.
I mean, I agree with not going in guns blazing, but I would also remind them, the commissioners that is, if they can't solve the problem that we're being taxed for, you might politely remind them that Bargersville is now at Trafalgar with a medic.
And Franklin, they announced that in the Daily Journal, they're taking
And,
it.
You can't take away, it's a county service. You can't take it as a.
But if they're not willing to fund what we're paying for, they're gonna have to sign a mutual aid agreement when they can't.
I would say if the gentleman that's responsible for providing EMS for the county isn't doing so when he's running for sheriff, might not be a good look.
We lost Epic, we lost
Okay. Is there any discussion away from the things that we've brought up?
I had a question about budget in 2027. The one, the other night at the fire church where it was talking about 2026 was, after they made the cuts, we were at 786,500 about, and I got a copy from Alan. The next year we're looking at 871, 795, so about an $85,000 increase.
But it won't draw that. It could be less than the 786.5.
Well, if you set the amount, won't they adjust the tax rate accordingly against the AV?
That is correct.
That is correct, but what they say they're gonna draw and what they actually get is different. That's why there's that 786.5 between the 821.
So what, either any way, or it's just until they do it, nobody knows what comes out, basically?
No, not until they tell me. Once we submit the budget, which I have to start working on in May, once we submit the budget, they'll come back and say, okay, you asked for this much, this is how much.
So it's the increase is like a preempt, you strike in case they lower the AV or something?
It's not an in case, we're not gonna get 871. We didn't get 821.
Yeah.
We landed at 786. There ain't no way they're gonna give us 871.
We're still going,
You're just going off the,
Well, it depends on what the AV's gonna do, though.
correct. It's showing with that Senate Bill 1, everything is showing a drop again.
how much was it? Like 14 million?
15.
15 this year, which is why it went from 821 to 786, and it's supposed to drop even harder next year. So if that happens, and like I said, we report the number that we originally had figured with MSG at 871, see where it lands, because that's what we did this year, and we saw how drastic it cut it. That's why once we got that number, we agreed to the contract at this last territory meeting, because we saw where it landed.
Actually, we fell back to 821, it was supposed to go up.
Yeah, it was originally gonna be 840, but it was 821, this budget ain't submitted in time. So then, that's what made it 786 with that cut.
Yeah.
And so we don't know
There
what's
wasn't even that
next
much
year.
kids in the streets from.
And we just know it's gonna get cut again. We just know it's gonna keep getting cut hard, and that is hurting all these services. The fires, the EMS, the county highway, it's hurting all of us.
And you just mentioned like Green Township, they have a pretty low budget compared to us now, and it's hurt.
Yeah.
Except for the schools that went up $39 million on their budget.
Nobody bats an eye.
Nobody goes to those meetings and
Right.
pesters them for the extra stuff they keep adding to their budget.
Right.
I've got a question on the budget.
Yeah.
And this is for the firemen. On the 2025 budget, you said amount remaining. When did you cut the 2025 budget off and then say remaining? Was that January 1st?
No, that was what, in March.
It went to March?
I guess he's talking about it. It was in March. Technically that's not 2025.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we get paid in June and December, and that money has to go.
Right, yeah, I got that. So would it be possible to readjust the way you do your budget, say from July 1st of 2026 to June 30th of 2027? Because then that would be in your window of getting funds, rather than overlapping and kind of confusing people, because when you look at a 2026 budget, that's really technically only a half a year's budget.
Right.
Correct.
Correct. So would it be possible to do that?
Well, and the problem is on the political side of things, if your boards switch out. I mean, at the beginning of the year, it'd be 6 months that we're supposed to be contract with them. What if the new board doesn't want that contract? I mean, does that make them?
Well,
It adds a lot of moving parts to something that's, I'll be honest, has been working.
That's a great segue for a question I have. Well, of course, you're supposed to know this stuff. And what I found out was the fact that if you guys don't approve that 786,000, then the fire board that already signed the contract is kind of left hanging because they can't, they can't raise taxes, they can't do anything. So if you were to say no today, what would the fire board do? And what would the firemen do?
I don't think we're voting on that, are we?
No, you don't have, you don't have to have a contract for that.
Yeah, that's your contract between them and the
Contract
territory.
between the fire board and the fire department.
But the fire board doesn't have any money, do they?
So the contract
That's your
is,
interlocal agreement.
the interlocal agreement, territory can enter into a contract, but that's, it's clearly outlined in there, dependent on appropriation of funds.
Right, just so you guys know, it's in your fire protection territory agreement, and I'll quote it, it says, in its contracts, and the fire board can sign contracts, that's not a problem. But it says the participating units delegates to the board the power to enter contracts and leases in the name of the territory for facilities and services related to the purposes of this agreement, including but not limited to agreements for mutual aid with other units, which you guys put in there that you wanted mutual aid, which is cool, all subject to the availability of an approval appropriation to fund such contracts or leases. So my question to you is, did you do an approved appropriation?
For this recently?
You're the trustee.
I know, I'm trying to figure out what you're asking me.
As I'm not asking you, I'm quoting what the rule, what was written to make the fire territory. It says all subject to the availability of an approved appropriation. So my question to you is, have you made an appropriation for the money to pay these guys?
That's the purpose of the budget.
Pardon?
That's the purpose of the budget. It was adopted.
The purpose of the budget is to state how much money.
And that's also how you appropriate the funding.
Taxing does not equal appropriation.
But it's divided by the auditor, not divided by us where the funds go.
Well, you have to provide the funds. You have to provide the funds.
We have the fiscal responsibility to
Provide the funds,
to
and the funds are set up in the budget based on where they need to go, and the auditor signs that.
Which is fine. But you have.
Like it has for years.
You have to approve that budget. It says.
We already did.
We have to approve the contract.
We have to approve the budget.
We haven't approved the budget yet, like you're talking about.
Right.
2026 budget has been approved.
Right.
It was 25. 26 was approved at 25.
Yes.
That's how you get your allocations.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah. Anytime you approve the budget, the allocations are approved. It's a play on words.
I'll question that.
All designed by the town attorney who had to have his nose stuck in that interlocal agreement.
There is a question on the floor that, at other times, that is probably going to be litigated somewhere, some way, somehow, in other territories. And these gentlemen at the table here to my left can find it out quicker than anyone. Once a fire territory board, and it's in the contract for us also, from the way I read it, once the fire territory sets their request for their budget, this board, all they're doing is approving what they submitted, because the township is the taxing entity. The town can't do it because they can't tax the entire township. So when that is said, when the territory that pays this corporation.
The incorporation, yes.
The incorporation of the firefighters. So you have three entities all involved in this: the territory, the corporation, and the township. Does that make sense so far? The fire territory, there are words in that contract that people are going to probably bring up in their one word on how it is derived, who has authority to do what. The township board, the way the contract reads, all they have the authority to do is approve what this group here the corporation, and what the territory agree upon.
Right.
The township then gets the money appropriated to what they requested, and the territory.
But that's the reason why there needs to be a meeting between everybody involved before a budget is set. And we discussed that ad nauseum at several meetings. And that's never been done.
Well, whether,
Well, you guys gotta, I understand, Mark, and the problem is we gotta get everybody at the table correct.
Right.
But this is only the first full year of this program.
It's my understanding in talking to our representative from the Indiana Township Association, the township board and trustee has the final say on fire territory expenditures and budgeting.
absolutely, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
And until someone proves her wrong, I'm gonna go with that opinion.
Well, you're absolutely correct, they do, you guys are the cashiers of the money.
Technically, you guys approve the budget. You can't, from the way the contract reads, you can't cut the budget that they set.
If we don't approve it, we can.
Well, that's where the legality comes in, and that's why I stated how I said it earlier, that there will be, at some point, the way this is being handled, and you got certain individuals got hidden agendas, that's very unfortunate. It's gonna be litigated at some
The
point.
money comes through the township says this is approved, like Mark's saying, this is approved, and, I mean, it comes down to the township. They have the say on whether or not they approve it.
I think the point that he's making though is that they're supposed to basically jump through all the hoops to the township fire board, to the territory board, to approve things. What he's saying, and I really, and I agree with you. I'm just saying that,
Well,
but they shouldn't have to jump through hoops for two different boards. They should only have to jump through hoops for one board, and then those two boards should be communicating.
But the problem with that is in contract law, the entity that's disbursing the funds, they have the final say. These guys override the fire territory. The fire territory can't come to them and order them to do anything. The money comes to them. They say whether or not the money goes out.
Right,
Now,
but they appointed a governing board.
No, they do not.
They appointed a governing board.
That's the incorrect statement.
No, you're absolutely wrong. It's unadjudicated.
Once the budget is approved, the township board has no authority.
Does the fire territory have any accounts that are funded by the DLGF?
No, you're not.
I'm saying.
You're not hearing what I'm saying. Once the township approves the budget and they get their, I forget from DLGF, once they get their budget order, the board has no more authority. It's all the trustee. Yeah, the township board, once the budget is approved, they have no more authority on spending unless it's an additional appropriation. Do you agree with that, Mike? That's.
Any money that is in addition to that budget has to go through an additional appropriation process.
Other than that, if the board approves $1 million to be spent, the trustee, as long as he does not take it out of that set line item, the board has no say on how that money is spent, period. That's the way the law is written. It's been written that way for years.
But you're saying in the same breath, they approve that budget. They have to, if they approve
For the
that budget.
township, yes.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. They have the final say on it.
But it's dictated within the budget.
If they don't approve that budget, then that money doesn't go anyplace.
Well, it would revert back to last year. It would automatically revert to last year's budget.
Yeah, right. That's what happened last year.
And that is why the person, our representative of the Township Association told me that that's the reason why there needs to be at least one meeting a year with all the parties involved in fire territory.
Yeah.
So everybody knows what's going on.
Absolutely agree.
I'd recommend more than that, Mark.
Well, she said at least
I would
one.
like quarterly, to be honest, but.
And they all should be discussing the budget together, not one entity doing their own thing and another entity doing their own thing.
Yeah.
But she also did say that the township board has the final say on the budget.
Correct.
Period.
Correct. You are, that's 100% accurate, but after the
budget comes back, the only way things can be moved around is through an additional appropriation.
It's correct.
But that being said, when the fire department asked for, I don't know what 2026 supposed to be, 800?
It was supposed to be 840 something, but since it didn't get submitted, it ended up being like 821 and some change.
821 and change. Was that, no, 821 was for 2025, right?
Correct, it reverted back to that because it wasn't submitted.
Right, so my point is, since it reverted back to that, but you only got 786.
We only got 786 collected because of the 15 million lost in assessed value.
Right. So then, how do you guys interact and approve that 786?
Good question.
Through the budget we submitted to the state. What the state does after we submit the budget is out of our hands. When they send it back, that's what we have to abide by.
That's what you have to abide with?
Yes.
Okay, I buy that, I totally buy that.
And that's why they agree.
And they also have in what account X amount of dollars goes, X amount of dollars goes, and that's where it has to stay. And the auditor makes sure it stays in that account.
Right. And the auditor is the one that tells you how much goes into each account across the board.
Right.
And I buy that. I wholeheartedly buy that. But I'm just a little concerned that you've got a fire territory board signing contracts without, if you guys took a vote today and said, we don't like that, we're gonna drop that a little bit, or we're going to increase it. Fire territory board is out there in left field with no way to fund these guys.
Well, they can't change it until later on this year anyways.
Say what?
They can't change it until the budget's up for vote later on this year anyways. So then at that point, it comes back to the clause in there, depending on funding. And then at the same time, just like they just amended their contract here in March, because of the lower dollar amount, they would then have to amend the contract again at that point if the board says that we can't fund this at this dollar amount, it has to be at this dollar amount. It goes back to the fire territory board, which then approaches these guys and says, this is what you gotta work with, and then they'll renegotiate a new deal.
If they say no and if both boards say no to the thing and they come to an impasse, it is what it is. It goes right back to what it was.
Yep.
Don't you sit on both boards?
Yeah.
So then that alleviates this whole conversation.
Well, so, I mean, I think the plot's been lost, so
Just ask.
the statement was, simply appropriating the funds would alleviate that concern. I think that's all I was asking, appropriating the funds.
Which we already did when we passed the 2025 budget.
What's the, so, and everybody's trying to do all these different calculations and can't get a straight answer thanks to SB1. It's always like, we don't know. So it's like, like you guys said, you set for a certain budget and then you're hit with, it's offset by this. So who can instruct us on the offset?
It's not even a forecasted amount right now. It's like sliding scales all over the place is the way I understand it.
So
would that be the way you would think that you hear it too?
Yeah.
So it's just a best guess, the state
It's a
has.
dartboard right now. Literally, okay, I'm gonna get to a point where we can adjourn. Right now, this is Matt's conspiracy theories. They want the lowest unit of government right now to do poorly. And when the lowest level of government does poorly, that's who they're gonna get the blame. And then when it does so poorly that it fails, you're gonna see the next level of government probably come in, and that's gonna be the county. And when they come in, if you think 28 cents is bad, I'm not doomsdaying, I'm just saying, if it comes to that. So where we are at and in these discussions, we're all struggling because there's no like certified answers. So I'm trying to understand it just as much as everybody
Yeah,
else.
well, I think everybody is, because if you can't rely on a particular number, then,
Yeah.
it makes it difficult.
When the state keeps moving the goalpost, it's kind of hard to rely on
Yeah.
specific.
Okay, you've got a budget for the fire department, 7865, right? That's what they're gonna give you. How much is budgeted for the township?
What do you mean?
Well, the 7865 is their money, right? Doesn't the township need money to run?
He's asking about like your port relief, your
Oh, yeah, that's all part of the budget cycle. When I plug those things in, it's all in there.
It's two different line items.
Yeah, it's two different things.
The township has their own, like they have their own rainy day, they have their own, Q cap and all that.
Right. And they
The
get-
fire department has their own.
They get lit funds, they get all of that stuff, but you certainly have a budget. I've seen it at $72,000, right?
72, is that? Seems low.
Wasn't that the number?
I don't have the budget.
Budget in front of me.
I thought it was dropped down to like 72,000.
No, I don't think that one got approved.
That one didn't
Would have
work.
reverted back.
Yeah, that one didn't get.
I don't have it in front of me.
Got reverted back like ours.
Okay. Okay.
One last one, this word. In the 2027 territory budget proposal, there's $25,000 for lawyer and legal.
That's theirs, on their budget?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's that for exactly?
we kept a line item ever since 2024 with, we added some funds to that and made that line item because of what we were spending on lawyer fees.
Well, when I was asking the chief about, at the fire territory meeting, like 2024 had that 18,565 or 656. He said that was for the territory setup. Is this for a renewal of that?
No, not necessarily. We shouldn't need a renewal for that. We have an interlocal agreement that exists, and if we can keep
Right.
getting along, then we shouldn't have trouble.
It's a bigger amount than I've seen.
Well, again, we were looking at, I know you guys hate hearing this, we were looking at the FSG paperwork, watching Senate Bill 1 mess with the assessed value. We originally had 821, 840 something, and then 871. If we request 871 and all this assessed value cuts it, like he said, no one knows where it's gonna land. We request that, see where it lands, see what our budget's gonna look like, because even if we report 871, I believe it's gonna be lower than 786. And I'd like to give them the higher number we projected.
But I mean,
when we set this up, to see where it lands.
Right, no, I understand that with the total budget. I'm talking specifically about the lawyer and legal. Do you anticipate something? I mean,
I hope not.
No, the hope is not to, yeah.
That's a rainy day fund.
There you go.
So what would the retainer fee be on the lawyer for the year then?
I don't know.
Because that's essentially all you need is a retainer fee, if you don't use it.
Well,
You don't need 18 grand
I
on it.
mean, we use them for,
Laying around.
we use them, I shouldn't say often, but like selling that equipment that the territory board let us do, right?
Right.
That was, like, I went to the attorney and said, hey, we're wanting to get rid of these items, each item is less than like $500 or whatever it was, I don't have that list in front of me. What is the legal way to get rid of these things? Do we have to go on an auction site? Do we have to have open bids? And there's $1,000. Spent 3 hours, $300 an hour. Like, anytime you do something so simple but yet so stupid to cross our I's and dot our T's, it does add up, so.
And I hope we never have an incident where someone gets injured or killed, but we be in a lawsuit over fire truck going down or a firefighter getting killed. We would need funding.
That's why you have insurance,
We also have insurance, yes.
and they'll pay for it.
Yeah.
They'll pay for so much, and then we still might need a little bit.
Gentlemen, you may want to keep money in there just in case you get some rogue citizens that want to ask stupid questions and charge you guys gotta pay a lawyer over $10,000 to get answers too, so. You gotta keep money in there.
Rogue citizens? Come on, Jim.
So to be clear, sometimes you have to send FOIA requests to the lawyer, but I think you worked out some stuff with Alan about getting some information set up.
Oh, yeah, no, and like he said though, but like getting this trailer and getting it in our name with Farm Bureau sponsoring it all runs through the lawyer, and stuff, and we do a lot of things through the lawyer.
Is the new truck gonna be under the corporation or under the territory?
Incorporation.
The new truck will be too?
Whoa.
No, it can't be.
It can't be if it's paid well for with this taxpayer, buddy.
Yeah, it's gotta go in.
You are allowed to refund us if you guys wanted to.
If you're buying a new truck, I now make a motion that it goes through the township books and it's owned by the township. Period. It has to be. If you're using taxpayer dollars that was appropriated that way, it has to be.
I mean, you can look it up, it doesn't have to be, but we can do it.
I make a motion that it does.
That's fine.
Now, wouldn't that be in the Morgantown Fire Territory, because the taxes is from both the town and township?
Yeah, it would be owned by the town.
It's owned by the township?
No, it's owned by the town and township because it's being bought with the equipment replacement funds.
I don't agree with that at all. I don't know who's feeding you that
Read
line.
through the interlocal agreement.
That interlocal agreement is a joke and you guys know it.
Well, wait a minute.
Contract says territory.
It belongs to the territory.
And read under dissolution of the territory if that were ever happens someday.
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Any new equipment that needs to be put in the township's name, period.
I agree with what Mark is saying, but the contract says territory. So I'm agreeing with you, that's what the contract says.
Then I think we need to negotiate a new contract, because the township's providing the funding. We're the funding mechanism, the town is not.
I've got a list of things that are wrong with the contract, we can have that conversation, but
I'm agreeing, there's a bunch of stuff.
the contract says territory.
But we were forced by the town attorney to sign it, or to do that.
I would not be against the fire department having it myself. But
I think that needs to be a legal question.
I'm telling you that the contract says territory. I'm just telling you what the contract says. I'm not arguing opinion. The contract says territory.
So, Mark, in 2024, when we signed a contract, or when you guys signed a contract for the fire department for $90,000, that became their money, right?
Yes.
So, when you signed a contract to give them, what's the number this year, 821?
No, 786.
786. Once that contract is signed, what you said is signed by the fire board.
The fire board signed it.
Right.
The township hasn't signed it.
The fire board signed it, so when you give them the money, it's their money now. And if it's their money, they're gonna buy it with their money.
But it's my understanding of the law, when something is purchased with taxpayer dollars, it belongs to the taxpayers. It doesn't belong to an entity.
Well, of course, the difference is you're gonna purchase it out of the
Fire equipment replacement fund.
See, now, if they would've taken that, if you gave them the 786, that's their money. If they bought it out of their money, then it's theirs.
If they want to do that, that's fine, and leave the equipment replacement fund alone. I don't have a problem with that.
And then all you gotta do is just
Appropriate another 160.
appropriate another 144 to pay it back.
I don't agree with that.
Well, the problem is that apparently some people are really excited about getting rid of this territory, or getting rid of this township. And if you get rid of the township and the township owns that equipment, where does the equipment go? To the new
Whoever
township.
they merge them into. Or it goes into whoever they merge them into. Whatever mega township they decide to make, it's gonna go to them.
And the fire department wouldn't have it.
Correct. It would get taken from us.
Along with the other trucks you got.
He used to have
Well, we
to.
talked about that in the meeting before, prior to this, that everything that was owned by the township, which I don't remember what the equipment was, three, would stay, and the rest would be combined with Green or wherever, would merge, or wanted to merge. So
I thought
that-
that discussion was settled in the last meeting when we talked about equipment purchases and so forth. Was I sleeping through that meeting, or
I'm trying to remember what part you're talking about.
when we talked about funding
Oh,
this
right.
brush truck, we
Right.
talked about
It going through the.
it going through the
Yeah,
township?
I believe that is the conversation we had.
But with the interlocal agreement, it would be titled as Morgantown Fire Territory.
That is what the contract says, that's all I'm saying. I keep saying contract, interlocal.
I mean,
The trustee could, you guys approve the expenditure right now. The trustee, Matt, can buy the truck. Title it under his name, and then the fire department build it. Just as you guys said. That's how you would retain equipment and assets within the township.
So you're telling me the town couldn't come back and say, hey, no, listen,
The
hear
town
me
don't
out.
have any money in that account.
Yeah, they do.
They do though.
They
Yeah,
have zero.
Yeah, they do.
They do not.
that's the problem with the way this was formed.
Everyone in
I mean,
the township was charged 3 pennies on the 100 for equipment replacement. That's why it has to be titled as Morgantown Fire Territory.
I think,
The townspeople have never been charged a county or a township tax.
I think.
Yes, they have.
Yes, they were. Yes, they
Yes,
are.
they have that.
The town, I live in town, the town is charged.
Yeah, we do. It's all-
You guys, okay, we all charged, what, maybe 6 cents? 6 cents in the township. You guys were charged, what was your tax?
We were charged 4 cents in the township, they were charged 2 cents in the town, and then when the territory was formed, the town paid the whole, they still paid 6 cents for the town, like they always had. They didn't pay 2 cents to the township, they paid the full amount to the territory,
Yes.
But that
31
wasn't,
cents.
that wasn't a charged tax. Where did the town get their money from to pay the fire department? It was like 50,000 a year. That was never a tax.
I mean,
On the
we always
resident.
contract, just give me, a minute. I think, I've looked into this a fair amount. Well, what Jay is saying is that there's, we sometimes confuse the citizens of the town of Morgantown with the incorporated entity of the town of Morgantown. The incorporated entity by itself has not produced money towards that. The town members have, in their capacity as township members. So there's, that's the thing that we sometimes, it's easy to get
It's a
mixed up
fine
on.
line.
Is we have an incorporated entity that's town of Morgan, and the tax money, the revenue that comes into the township from the town residents. And that money is really no different than the money I pay. You know, I mean, they're on the board, anybody in town, Mark's on, you know, everybody's right there represented the same. People that live in town have they're stakeholders in the township as well. They got just as much say as anyone else, but the town itself, not putting any money in it. You see what I mean?
Into the
Incorporated-
fire, into the fire
The
side.
incorporated business.
Their tax rate that they paid was for the township assistant side. Does that make sense?
No, because they were charged, 9 pennies on the 100, they were charged 27 cents. It's his tax bill.
It's on my tax bill, and I live in town.
His went up 1,200% in the last, what he said.
In 24, not.
That's how we got.
Yeah, for now.
Yeah, that was only for the territory. That was long before you guys were.
We would not have a $113,000 equipment replacement fund without people that live in town.
Because they
That's
were paying
incorrect.
territory.
All those revenue stream came from the taxpayers of the township outside the corporation.
It's from both.
So it's from both. I can assure you it's from both, because my township tax went up 1,500%.
The ARV, for the ARV,
You're 100% correct. I'm speaking of like 2021, 2022, 2023. Long before this, the department came together as the territory. I'm speaking prior to the territory.
We still always pay the township tax rate.
Only for core relief. It was never nothing to do with the fire if you were within the town.
Right, because the town paid their own through lit money.
And that's another tax. It
Right.
didn't have anything to do with the fire department.
I signed a contract with the town for a year, and they even gave me raises. They gave me raises over the years. And they did the best they could until they became terrible.
We're here now, we're all down receive it. We're all saying that's all that.
Yeah, but everyone's paying now, what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And that's why
the
we.
money that was there prior was from the township taxes, not from the town taxes, if that makes sense.
The 3 pennies was from the first year of the territory settlement, for their equipment replacement. That's what he's trying to tell you.
Yeah, but there was something.
We're not talking about money before, I don't know about
There's
this.
like 600,000 in here before they transferred.
If you ever read the interlocal agreement, I know everyone hates it, but that is what binds all of this big mess together. If you go through the dissolution part, if this all dissolves, anything that's bought with territory money is split between the town and township. This took 2 entities to create a territory to begin with. That's why the town has to say, and actually has ownership with whatever spent out they put in replacement fund. I mean, unless someone changes the interlocal agreement, which I don't have a clue how that happens, that's the way it's written. It's that cut and
It
dry.
definitely needs to be revisited as far as I'm concerned.
But that's with you and the
Because the state law only recognized one member of the non-participating unit, and their attorney insisted that they had 2 members on the board.
The providing unit, they recognize, yeah.
The providing unit gets the most say in it, and he insisted that they have an additional member for the town.
I agree, that's what they've said that.
So are we gonna table this and go to a new meeting in 2 weeks or 3 weeks?
Well, the problem
Go back
is-
over this, or are we gonna hash this out?
Well, we won't have a brush truck if you do
The
that.
problem is, that yeah, so,
We won't have a brush truck because they're holding it for us. Okay.
is there something we can do, Mark, to approve it with,
We already approved it.
yeah, so you're good?
That's all water under the bridge,
You're
yes.
good? All right.
I don't have that long left on this board
So
anyway,
it's-
and I'm done with the mess.
So to finalize it, it's the fire department's gonna buy it, they're gonna own it. Is that,
If that's what the contract says.
well,
that's
it's
what
the fire
That's what you
department or
guys
the
write the
territory?
checks.
And I think the town was okay with you guys owning it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Those are our 2 options. So if you're good with them owning it, I think that was your plan, right?
It was.
Okay.
Didn't know it was gonna be this rough. Yes.
Is the territories gonna own it?
No, but it's either the territory or the corporations.
Sounds like the town and township need to get together and figure this out, so. That's really what this boils down to. This interlocal agreement gets brought up every single meeting, Busher. You
Well,
guys
yeah,
have
because you got a member of the town council that wants to run everything. That's exactly what goes
It's
on.
not my problem. You guys have got to get together and figure this out so this can get streamlined a little bit.
I would like to make sure that we're good with the purchase though.
I'm good with the purchase. They need a new brush truck.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Then you would have, if you want it under, you'd have to make a motion that it is titled under the territory and not titled under the corporation. Because what would happen if something is dissolved, if it's under the corporation, the township or the town have no control over that $100-some thousand you just spent for that truck. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but they never did before. If they had a contract for $140,000, they took it out and went and bought a new pickup truck, it's the corporations. Because the contract was signed, they were paid for the service they were gonna provide, which was fire service, it's their money. Just like when I build houses, I get paid to build a house, it's my money, and I can spend it any way I want. I was a corporation. They can do the same thing. They were just given a contract. The money's theirs. We don't really have a say on how they spend it, so.
Yeah, but
they are taking it out from the reserve fund, the replacement fund, which does probably throw a curveball in there.
But Alan, you're the one that just said, you're the one that just read the contract.
Yeah.
Okay, and it does mention in there about getting into contracts. Buying this truck, the whole thing that you want to look at is, when you buy this truck, it needs to be purchased under the territory. So it is the towns and the townships' control of that truck. It should, no assets that are purchased from here on out, they go to the territory. If you build a new firehouse, it's gonna go to the territory.
Well, but then if, let's say there is a merger, there's things passed later on, it'd be more beneficial for the incorporated fire department to have it, because then they've got it, and whatever murders or any kind of changes we're subject to, they should be able to keep it if it's titled in their name. So I think we got two choices. Mark can make a motion to have Matt buy it under the township, and it's a township truck, and you're just letting these guys borrow it as much as they want. Or you say, here's the money, Clayton, you guys go out and buy it and put it in that corporation. But I think, me personally, it's one or the other. I think the fire territory is a mistake because we all agree that there's issues with the interlocal agreement, something changes. So it needs to be there or here with the caveat that they can use it all the time. So it's safe, I guess.
It's just a lease, like a vehicle lease. They would, if they did it there, they would just lease it to the fire department.
Yeah, well, yeah.
For $1 a year.
Like $1 or something, yeah, I mean, so they can.
Another question real quick. This is a purchase over $75,000. So you have to have competitive bids too, don't you?
The truck is not over $75,000 to purchase.
The truck is not?
The truck itself is not over $75 to purchase.
It's a agreement they're gonna put on it after.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's a total.
And
Matt, the first thing I would do before you release any funds is call your lawyer. Call the township lawyer, make sure you're not getting put in the middle as a township, because if the way Alan read the interlocal agreement, all assets have to stay with the township.
Folks,
That's the way I read it also. And I'm not a lawyer by any means, so you need to protect the assets of the township, the money of the township, and ask legal counsel. And he may say, I don't want you guys, the corporation, to get in the pickle and spend your $25,000. Let Matt spend the money, I'm a lawyer. And then he can give you guys the opinion. I'm not here to disrupt anything, I just want to make sure it's done right. Does that make sense?
hey, guys, stop. There's a severe thunderstorm warning issued for this area right now. We are not going to solve it arguing back and forth. So I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
First, you ought to make a motion to have Matt look into legal counsel on a purchase of something that magnitude.
He doesn't need one of that.
Yeah, I'll motion to adjourn.
To what?
I motion to adjourn. Because we've approved.
Second?
We've approved the funds.
You get a second to adjourn?
We got bad storms.
He seconded. You seconded it? Okay.
Yep.
Motion
You brought clarity to me. I understand that. Because I was working backwards. You guys did the 2026.